Emma sat at her kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. The soft hum of the fridge was the only sound in the room. The morning sun shone through the window, lighting up the little plants on the windowsill. It was a peaceful moment, but Emma's mind was busy with thoughts. Today was her second wedding anniversary with David, and she couldn't help but reflect on the long road that had brought her here. Her thoughts drifted back to the time when she first met John, her first husband. Emma had been 22, full of dreams and hopes. John was charming, with a quick smile and a laugh that filled the room. They met at a party through mutual friends and felt an instant connection. Within a year, they were married, and Emma thought she had found her forever. But life doesn't always go as planned. At first, their marriage was happy. They traveled, laughed, and shared everything. But as the years went on, things started to change. John got a new job that required him to work long hours, often leaving Emma alone at home. She would cook dinner, hoping they could share a meal together, but more and more, John would call to say he was working late. He was distant, both physically and emotionally. They tried to talk about it. Emma suggested taking trips together or having a weekly date night, but John seemed distracted, always focused on his work. Emma felt like she was losing him. It wasn't that they fought all the time, they just stopped talking. The silence in their home was louder than any argument could have been. After 5 years of trying to hold on to something that was slipping away, they decided to divorce. It was a painful decision, but Emma knew it was the right one. They parted ways quietly, with no anger, just sadness. Emma was 27, newly single, and unsure of what her future would look like. She wondered if she would ever find love again, or if her chance at happiness had passed. For a long time, Emma focused on herself. She got a new job, moved to a different apartment, and spent more time with her friends. They were her support system, especially on the nights when she felt lonely. Emma told herself she didn't need a relationship to be happy. She could be strong and independent, and for a while she was. But then, one afternoon, while browsing through a bookstore, Emma met David. He was standing in the aisle, flipping through a book on gardening. Emma had reached for the same book, and their hands brushed. They both laughed awkwardly, and Emma felt a warmth in his smile that she hadn't felt in a long time. He had kind eyes, the kind that made her feel seen. They started talking, first about books, then about life. David told her about his love for gardening, how he found peace in growing things. Emma shared her story too. She told him about John, her marriage, and the pain of divorce. To her surprise, David listened with patience, without interrupting or offering solutions. He simply listened, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt understood. Over the next few months, they became friends. They met for coffee, took walks in the park, and talked about everything. Emma felt comfortable around David in a way she hadn't with anyone since John. He was gentle, always making sure she was at ease. He didn't rush things, and that was something Emma appreciated more than words could express. Slowly, her feelings for David grew, but Emma was scared. The memory of her failed marriage still weighed heavy on her heart. She wasn't sure if she was ready to open up to love again. David, however, was patient. He never pressured her to move faster than she was ready. Instead, he made it clear that he cared about her and wanted to be part of her life, whether as a friend or something more. One evening, after they had been seeing each other for almost a year, David invited Emma to his home for dinner. The house was small but cozy, with plants everywhere, some hanging from the ceiling, others lining the windowsills. It was clear that David had put a lot of care into creating a warm, inviting space. After dinner, as they sat together on the couch, David took Emma's hand. "I know you've been through a lot," he said softly. "I don't want to rush you, but I want you to know that I love you. I want to build something with you, something that lasts." Emma's heart raced. She looked into David's eyes and saw nothing but sincerity. She had been afraid of this moment for so long, but now that it was here, she felt ready. "I love you too," she whispered. And in that moment, she knew she had found her second chance at happiness. A few months later, David proposed. Emma was nervous, not because she didn't love him, but because the thought of getting married again brought back memories of her first marriage. She didn't want to make the same mistakes, but deep down, she knew that David was different. He wasn't John, and this wasn't the same story. Their wedding was simple, just close family and friends in a small garden surrounded by flowers that David had grown himself. As Emma walked down the aisle, she felt a mix of emotions: joy, fear, hope, but most of all, she felt ready. Ready to start a new chapter, not as the same person who had married John, but as someone who had grown stronger, wiser, and more open to love. The first year of their marriage was beautiful. They spent their weekends gardening, cooking, and traveling. Emma felt safe with David, like she could be herself without fear of judgment. But there were also moments of doubt. Sometimes, when they had disagreements, or when David had to work late, Emma's mind would drift back to her first marriage. She worried that history might repeat itself. One evening, after a small argument about something silly, whether to plant roses or sunflowers in the garden, Emma broke down. "What if this ends like before?" she asked, tears in her eyes. "What if we start to drift apart?" David sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "Emma, we're not John and Emma. We're David and Emma," he said gently. "We're writing our own story. It won't always be perfect, but we're in this together. We'll make mistakes, but we'll also learn from them." Emma smiled through her tears. She knew David was right. This was a new beginning, and it didn't have to be defined by her past. As the years passed, Emma and David built a life full of love and laughter. They traveled to places Emma had only dreamed of, spent quiet nights at home, and supported each other through thick and thin. Emma learned to trust in their relationship, and David continued to be the steady, patient partner she needed. One evening, on the porch of their home, watching the sunset together, Emma turned to David and smiled. "Thank you for being my second chance," she said softly. David looked at her with love in his eyes. "You were never a second chance to me," he replied. "You were the only chance that ever mattered." Emma knew then that she had found not just a second husband, but her true partner for life. Together they had built something beautiful, something that wasn't defined by the past, but by the love and care they had for each other. The end. Thanks a ton for listening to the entire story. If you like this story, then don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your valuable opinion about the story. Subscribe to the channel as well as hit the bell icon to stay tuned for more interesting updates. Happy listening.